This is geometry 10.6, talking about the volume of spheres. A sphere is a set of all points in space, equal distance from a given point. This point is called the center of the sphere. We typically talk about a center of a circle. So it's the same thing, but a circle is just two-dimensional, where a sphere is three-dimensional. It still has a center. It still has a radius. We could still talk about a diameter. All those terms still exist. So the volume is 4/3, not 1/3, but 4/3. All of our other formulas have been 1/3. For the cone was 1/3. This will be 4/3. Pi r cubed. So notice the cube is already part of it. There's not multiple dimensions. There's not a length times width times height. Where here in a cone, you take the area of the circle, which is pi r squared, and you times it by another dimension to get your cubic value. The formula has the r value built in as a cube. So that's going to help remind us that this formula is for volume, where r is, of course, the radius. So if we're going to find the exact volume is when you leave the pi symbol as part of your answer. The pi symbol is going to automatically bring you decimals. So if you leave the pi symbol in there, you should be able to have a non-rounded number. It's usually going to be a whole number. Volume equals 4/3 pi r cubed. You really got to focus on this one being cubed, because all the other formulas have been squared. The cylinder and the cone. So here they give us the radius. They give us the 12. So you're putting the 3 onto the 12. Then we can come over to our calculator. And we have 12 cubed. That gives us 1728. Now as we look at the number 1728, we have 1 plus 7 plus 2 plus 8. That's a total of 18. Does 3 go into the number 18? Yes. Therefore, 3 goes into 1728. It's a fun fact about 3's. So if we divide that by 3, we get 576. So I divided the 1728 by 3. What's my last step? Ali? We're going to multiply the 576 and the 4. We want to leave pi in our answer, because if I multiply it by pi, I'm going to get a crazy decimal. I have to simplify, or I have to round. So I'm going to take that number and times it by 4 to get 2,304. And don't forget the pi symbol. We don't want to multiply that out. We don't want the decimal. So these are feet cubed, cubic feet. That would be our exact volume. Our next example is a beach ball. Okay, so we have our sphere. The distance across is 15 centimeters. But from the center to the edge would be 7.5. The diameter is 15, but the radius is going to be half of the 15. You need to look for your details, not just grab numbers. This is the diameter. Diameter is not part of our formula. Volume equals 4/3 pi r cubed. So we can take the 4/3. Now they're wanting us to round it. They want us to have a decimal to the nearest hundredth. So pi is acceptable here. Times pi times 7.5 cubed. So we multiply out that whole line. 4/3 pi r cubed. So our volume is going to be 1767. And to round it to the nearest hundredth, tenths, hundredths, we're going to go to the thousandths. That's 5 or bigger, so we're going to make it 0.15. And this is volume. So volume is a cubic calculation. It's the number of little boxes that could fit inside of this beach ball. Last one. The radius of a sphere, we're going to find the radius if the volume is 36 pi. Look at this detail here. 36 pi. They give you the pi symbol in the volume already. I try to point that out each time. A lot of people like to skip that little symbol and just say 36. There's a difference. And don't times it out. You want it to say 36. So the volume is going to be 4/3 pi r cubed. The more times you write out your formula, the more familiar you're going to be with it. So we're going to plug the 36 into the V spot. 4/3 pi r cubed. So what's my first step here? What would you suggest we do? We could move the pi's out of there right away. So divide by pi, divide by pi. So now we have 36 4/3 r cubed. What could be another step we do from here? We have the 3 on the bottom. This is already dividing. Because the 3's dividing, we're going to multiply with the 3. That's going to cross the 3's out. That's going to make it 3 times bigger, which gets rid of the 3rd. So this is 108 equals 4r cubed. Now we divide by 4. That gives us r cubed. So dividing by 4, one way you can do this without a calculator is, what is 108 cut in half? 54. What is 54 cut in half? 27. So I cut it in half twice. I divided it by 2 and I divided by 2 again. 2 and 2 is 4. So I divided by 2 twice. Or you could easily take your calculator and say 108 divided by 4, what the majority of us might do. But just letting you know, there are a lot of skills that you can use. Now, here's a tricky part. How do you use your calculator to figure out how to take the cubed root? This is r cubed. This is r times r times r, making 27. Yet, either think about that. Is it 2 times 2 times 2, or 3 times 3 times 3, or 4 times 4 times 4, or 5, 5, and 5? It's some number multiplied by itself 3 different times. So we take what's called the cubed root. We write a little 3. It's called an index to tell us that we're taking the cubed root. We're taking the cubed root. So we've got to have the little 3 there. Your calculator can do a cubed root also. You need to know where the menu is. We're going to do the math menu, of course. So you need to hit math, and you'll see right there, that's number 4. So scroll down to number 4, hit enter, and there you have your cubed root. And you can type in your 27. Anybody have an idea of what times what times what makes 27? It's going to be 3, of course. And the units that we're working with are centimeters, not centimeter cubed, because this isn't a cubic concept. This is a length. And that's what we have.